who were some of the people or peoples that would have occupied this territory known as Moorish Spain? As far as the Europeans that were there, you're talking about Franks. What country is associated with Franks? France, right? The Goths, the Visigoths. You know who the Goths are associated with? Germany. The Hispani, which would have been the people who were living in the Iberian Peninsula. And they would have been already a mixture of the people from the time of Hannibal and earlier that occupied that region. The Gauls, also associated with France and areas of Spain. But then who are the Africans? The largest community would have been the Amazigh. The Amazigh you probably have heard of as the Berbers. The name Berber. But the indigenous name is Amazigh. A-M-A-Z-I-G-H. And then the Amazigh have different phenotypes, from people who would have been dark olive to people who would have been light olive in complexion. What's so disturbing is because of the asiento, which is basically the Spanish and Portuguese dominated enslavement trade, once the asiento is implemented, the history of this Moorish presence begins its alteration. And that asiento is in the 15th and 16th centuries. And the 15th century is considered you might say, a red letter date in Moorish history, and not a good one. What happens in the 15th century? Well, the Spanish Inquisition is implemented, but there's something else that signals the decline of the Moors in Spain.
1491.
Well, even before Columbus crossed the Atlantic, 1492 is when Granada, the last Moorish stronghold in Spain, falls. 1492. After it falls, that's when, right, as the brother said earlier, you then have Columbus now having the finance and the ability to sail to the Americas. He couldn't do it prior to that time. And it's no accident that he also has on board Moriscos who have cartographical knowledge, meaning the knowledge of the maps. They know the trade routes, and they assist him in making it to the Indies. Some people say he was trying to get to the Indies as an Indian. No, I don't believe that.
No.
I don't believe that for a minute. He was bringing, he brought on board his ship people who spoke Chaldean, Arabic, and Hebrew. Right. No one on the ship spoke Hindi or Urdu. That's what you would need if you're going to India.
That's right.
Plus, there were all kinds of secret maps that existed among merchants in Venice with connections to Prince Henry the Navigator, who was Portuguese as well, that told them, well, you know, the Moors have already gone to the Americas. They've already established settlements and contacts there. Now we know how to get there as well, which is why Christopher Columbus, when he arrives in the Caribbean, talks about seeing people wearing Moorish attire on the island of Cuba. This is the stuff that is known by medieval historians, but never seems to make it out into the mainstream, because the basic myth about Columbus discovering America and there being no pre-Columbian contacts between the continent of Africa and the continent of the Americas. Something that some of you may remember, the late, great Ivan van Sertima had been trying to get people to wake up to that knowledge 30, 40 years ago. And it's so intriguing because of course I knew Dr. van Sertima and worked with him on his book and even a couple of lectures that we did together. And when I explained to him, I said, it's interesting that the Moorish Science Temple is the only organization that's talked about a pre-Columbian African presence in the Americas. And yet it's never seemed to catch on within the quote-unquote larger black community. And it's almost as if whenever that issue came up, people didn't really connect the dots. Why was our prophet talking about that? And you even had people like Martin Delaney talking about it in the 19th century. Even Du Bois wrote about it in The Souls of Black Folk in 1903 or 1905. Why is it never catches on? Right? I mean, that's a question I often ask myself, and I think I know the answer, but I'll come back to that later.